water in my ears. I gotta.
You might want to mute. Now we're live. we we always just come rolling on, you know. You never know when this darn thing is going to make you live. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Saturday Morning Mastermind. My name is Catherine Clement, and I'm here in Boulder, Colorado. On a very unusual day for us, it's actually gray outside. Normally we have sun even in the middle of winter. So it's actually sort of fascinating to look at because it looks like winter everywhere else in the world. I love Colorado. But anyway, thank you so much for coming this morning. We're so happy to have you. And we're going to go through the second verse that we didn't get. We only got through half of it last week. And Samantha is going to actually hold up the book that we're reading, because I have it on Kindle. Oh, she doesn't have the cover on it. So anyway, it's Change Your Thought. What is the name of the book? Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, I believe, by Wayne Dyer. Thank you. Now we can see him. I see him. I can't really see the words, but I miss him. I can't believe he's gone, you know. I mean, he's still with us, obviously, but that was kind of a shock to me to hear that he went. So I'm glad we're doing this book. He has so many great books, and I'm really glad to be honoring his work here. So I am going to hush now. Oh, I better tell you, hopefully, well, you're either seeing us on YouTube or at SaturdayMorningMastermind.com, and please participate with us. You know, tell us what you think as we're talking and your ideas about it. Whether you agree with us or not, it doesn't matter. You know, we just like to discuss these things. And there's also a comment section. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, you'll see where you can comment there. So I'm going to let, oh good, here's Donna too. I'm going to let people introduce themselves now.
Hey guys, it's Samantha Studebaker-Carl here, and I'm over in beautiful Southwest Georgia. I'm glad to be on here today. It's kind of weird not being the person who's leading the discussion, but I wanted to give everybody else an opportunity to do so as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this verse again today, because there's so much we can learn from every one of these verses. So, okay.
Hey everybody, Jason Roberts here. Glad to be here also in this second session of 2016. Just looking forward to this this discussion here, and you know, seeing what everybody has to offer. I'm right here in down here in St. Pete, Florida, and we got some nice cool weather today. Been a little bit rainy, and but nonetheless pretty nice. So I hope everyone's having a great morning, and hope to hear from everybody on the panel.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Good morning, Donna Allen. I'm running a little bit on slow motion this morning. It's raining too here as well, Jason. It's one of those mornings, but anyway, nice to be here. Good to see everybody, and I'm looking forward to this. I love the way everything's unfolding. It's like a little flower, I guess you would say. It's like unfolding slowly but surely. Keeps on growing. Just keeps on growing. All right. Thank you.
I'm so glad that everyone could make it this morning, both on the panel and out in the audience. You know, when we first started this book, believe it or not, we talked about doing 3 and 4 verses per week. It seems kind of hilarious now to think about that, because we didn't even get through one whole verse last week. And I think that, you know, these are very short, small verses with very simple words. But, you know, life is simple if you allow it to be. It really is. So, Samantha, since you have your book, well, actually, either Samantha or Jason, could you just read either the whole second verse or at least the second part of the second verse for us?
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and just reread the whole thing, and then we'll just focus on talking about the last half of it. since we talked about the first half so much last week. But okay, anyway. Under heaven all can see beauty as beauty only because there is ugliness. All can know good as good only because there is evil. Being and non-being produce each other. The difficult is born in the easy. Long is defined by the short. The high by the low. Before and after go along with each other. So the sage lives openly with apparent duality and paradoxical unity. The sage can act without effort and teach without words. Nurturing things without possessing them. He works, but not for rewards. He competes, but not for results. When the work is done, it is forgotten, and that is why it lasts forever.
Excellent. Thank you for reading that. So we sort of titled this hangout, we brought up expectations, and when you first hear those words, you might not think we're talking about expectations, but if you think about it, it's all about expectations. So let me get on my page over here so I can see where it says nurturing things without possessing them. The sage can act without effort and teach without words. These are still expectations. Many of us, the relationships that we have with other people, we're kind of taught from children to have expectations because, our parents and our families and our teachers and all these people have all these expectations. And so we just think that's sort of the way to go, but then unfortunately those can cause a lot of disharmony within us, a lot of sadness and grief, and they're really just thoughts, aren't they? And we've talked about how our thoughts can really do us in if we believe all of them. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this verse. Pick any part of it that you like and let me know what you think.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that we're not talking about whether having expectations is right or wrong. I think that's a key thing right there. We got to remember that because we're not trying to say you're wrong for having expectations or that sort of thing. It's just a matter of determining where these expectations come from and then deciding whether or not the expectations are serving you or causing you more frustration and grief and disappointment in your life than what they're worth. And so when we kind of really examine, if you have an expectation that comes up, you're expecting somebody to behave in a certain way, and then they don't, then you kind of have to determine where does this expectation come from. If you're expecting them to, say, always show up on time, and they're always late, and then you're upset about it, but yet that person is never on time, then who is it that really is got the issue? It's you, isn't it? Because that's your thought. It's your idea in your own mind of how that person should do. And, and if you just stop expecting that, then you're not going to be upset about it because you being upset doesn't do anything for the other person. It doesn't make them show up on time, right? So that's kind of my thought on it. But the section where it says nurturing things without, or not nurturing things, it says, what is the word? Yeah, nurturing things without possessing them. And I thought that was an interesting part there because the possessing of them is kind of like expectations, right? So if we say we plant a flower in the ground and we just expect it to grow, and then when it doesn't and we're upset about it, then it's kind of we've set ourselves up for that disappointment by expecting a certain specific outcome, and when it doesn't happen, it makes us upset, right? But yet if we focus on just nurturing that plant and giving it everything that we have in a positive way and being happy about the aspect of being nurturing, then whatever happens is not necessarily going to be as big of a blow. So if it doesn't grow the way you expected and you were just focused on making it beautiful and awesome and it just didn't work out that way, then it's not the end of the world. I mean, that's kind of my thought on it. And I think that can go for anything, whether you're raising your children or you're in a relationship or, you know, anything. It's being focused more on the aspect of actually doing the nurturing versus expecting an outcome. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I hear what you're saying about expecting outcomes and expectations. What I'm getting out of this is more about, you know, seeing how we put parameters on our daily lives and on events in our lives, and how we give meaning to things, and and it's not saying that we shouldn't give meaning. To me it's saying that we should recognize all these. You know, we recognize the good and we recognize the bad. We don't, you know, we don't ignore one or the other, but we realize that they both exist. They exist within our mind, within our own perception of what we know, what we are aware of. You know, because we can't, you know, you never, you can't, you know, you can't, what is it saying, something about like judging a person before you've walked the mile in their shoes. And, you know, until you've experienced it, until you experience something different, then you really are only left with your parameters. So the saying, the sage or the wise person, one thing I think it's hinting on is that the wise person understands that duality and doesn't try to change it, but allows it kind of to be and works within it, so that expectations don't become they're not, they don't have any, I don't know, they don't, I don't know how to explain it, but they're not really necessary anyways, because you're seeing all the outcomes and you're watching it unfold, kind of like you know, Donna was saying with she's, you know, seeing things unfold in her life like a flower, and I think that's great. You know, if we can be content with allowing things to work out on their own, with after putting energy into it, then, you know, we can live a more blissful life, I think. What do you think, Donna?
You done good, Jason. I mean, there's not much I can add to that one. I mean, that's exactly. I haven't given any thought about that particular, just saying that, but it just seems like we do this on our in daily lives, and it's kind of, you know, we always say these words like, boy, that was a mystery to me, and just like they said earlier, you know, the expectations, you it's everything's just being, you know, and I think the most times if we are any kind of way about anything, yeah, we stress ourselves out over that situation. I can understand what each one of you said there, but yeah, that unfolding. I got up this morning and that was like, okay, things is kind of unfolding a little slow for me here this morning. You see what I'm saying? It's just that, you know, when you're in tune with the mysteries of life, everything's around you. You just don't. I didn't give it any thought about coming on here and saying, "Oh, guys, you know, it's okay to apologize. It's okay to say I'm sorry," but I didn't give it a thought to come on here. But here's what the thought did run through my mind. But it's me. It was me. It was told. This is good. This is good illustration. Let me slow it down a little bit now. Okay, I get a little excited. Let me just back down here. Phew, let me take a breath. Yeah, felt like I had a gazillion things going on when I hit the floor this morning. And I said, God, they're going to think, if she's like that, this was my thinking, nothing to do with you guys. And Jason set the tone for this. You did. You set the tone for this one. It's unfolding so it felt like I had kind of was losing control. Well, I just let it go. I said, I'm going to lose control and see how this thing unfolds this morning. And then I come back and I says, well, here I am. I made it. But a thought did try to come in my mind, that seed. Okay, talk about seeds too. I'm pretty sure you're going to get around in that on that. I had to root that seed out so it wouldn't start growing, because the expectation wasn't about you guys. It was what I was putting on myself, you know. But I don't know. I'm gonna hush with that one. You know, what do y'all? That's it for me from that one. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad that you unfolded onto here with us. um, yeah, you know, these are powerful words. They can be interpreted in so many ways. And in this book, Wayne he gives the verse, and then he gives us his interpretation of the verse, which is really, you know, good. And you can, just like Jason is getting a little bit different, all of us get a little bit different spin on these words, you know, so having his interpretation is great too. In the verse, it says, he works but not for rewards. He competes but not for results. So I think these are good. This is a good little set of words to give some thought to, because when you're working, you know, one of the things that we always talk about is you have to have this why that makes you cry, right? Your why has to make you cry. That's what's going to get you up and motivate you to do your work for the day. And we have these expectations, you know, that we're going to get such and such done, or we're gonna get this many people talked to, or whatever. And the thing about, you know, entrepreneurship and working from home, we're very, I mean, that's what everybody teaches, is you have to set all these goals. Well, goals are definitely expectations. That's just another word for expectations, right? So it's curious when you're trying to blend, you know, the teachings of, oh, you have to have all these goals written, and you have to say them every day, and you have to write them every day, you know, all this stuff, compared to he works but not for results. So if you're not going to have all these goals set, then how are you going to motivate yourself? You know, we have these expectations. So it's interesting to realize that you don't necessarily have to have those goals. You can just be in the moment and do whatever the next right thing is in front of you. And not be so tied to getting those 30 people talked to today, and then at the end of the day, you know, you're sad because you didn't meet up to what you expected to meet up with. That's a whole different day than to wake up, acknowledge that now the gray has lifted. Actually, I'm looking out the window and the gray has lifted and my beautiful Colorado sun is out again. And just be in that moment, and then start your work day. You know, ask for guidance and start your work day wherever you're told, you know, guided to start, and then just be in the moment with your day instead of always being in the future on your visualizations, or in the past on your failures. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think that's a great point, Catherine, and just like what Donna was sharing about, you know, feeling all overwhelmed this morning, and if she had continued down the path of feeling overwhelmed and getting upset about the fact that she was overwhelmed, and you know, maybe she had an idea of how her morning was going to go, and it wasn't going that way. If she'd stayed tied to that feeling of it has to be this way, it has to work this way, I have to be this, that, and the other, and do all these different things, then she would have continued to have those feelings of frustration and upset and disappointment when it didn't go that way, versus the just embracing whatever is happening and just kind of going with it. You know, now she's kind of created a feeling of ease instead, And then here we are, we're all hanging out and it's all good. You know, it's not, it's, and this is the paradox of it. It doesn't matter which direction it goes. You get to choose. You know, you can either choose the way that makes you happy, or you can choose the way that makes you frustrated and upset. And, you know, it's completely up to you. Either way is perfectly good as far as the universe is concerned, because it doesn't care one way or another. You're the only one that has to experience. You get to choose. So that's kind of my thought on it. What do you think, Jason? Or Donna, jump out.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Samantha. You come along and just fix that right up. That's it. That's exactly. And there's no use in saying, well, you know, it's all good. I mean, hey, just let it go. Just do. Yeah, you did good, Samantha. Did good.
I like that, and I wanted to add. I think that you know, the degree to which we put our emotions into something too have you know, has an effect on what, you know, how easy it might be to kind of let our expectations go, um, and you know, this sort of living with you know, we need to have expectations, but understanding that they are, you know, they're the target, they're not the way, and that, you know, the way of getting to that target might take us in a different direction, and our expectations of actually how we're going to get to our goal or our target, uh, you know, sometimes that can be what can be frustrating, because things don't seem to be turning out the way we'd like them to, and they might even seem like they're going in an opposite direction. But sometimes that is the direction that um, we need to take, obviously, because life is taking us in that direction, and it's either, I like to think that we're either, there's something for us to learn, or there's an interaction we're supposed to have with another person. Um, you know, kind of everything happens for a reason, and if you look for those reasons rather than focusing on, you know, how this isn't turning out the way I thought it would, but you're looking for, you know, well, where is this adventure taking me? You know, hey, I still have my sights set on this goal, and I'm going to speak that vision along the way to everyone that I meet. But along the way, I'm going to enjoy the journey, and whatever direction I end up going, I'm still going to find a way to make that take me to where I want to go, and not having this emotional attachment uh, to exactly how it's going to unfold, um, which is difficult, I think, also because we're taught that, and it's true, that we must be able to visualize us achieving what we want in our lives for us to be able to do it. If you can't see it in your mind, then you have a hard time believing it, and then that goes back to what we talked about in the last book, you know, having in your beliefs and your attitudes and your actions, and how that all unfolds for you, um, kind of habitually. So, you know, when we having to have that vision beforehand, then we sort of we do get attached to the way that we envision us achieving that next goal. And sometimes we need to kind of let go of that a little bit, and understand that, you know, there's a couple of ways up this mountain to get to the peak, so to speak. So that's what I'm thinking about it. What do you guys think?
I had a thought come up, and a kind of a memory of a lesson that one of my mentors taught me a number of years ago. Is that and Jason, you talked about, you know, the difference between the journey and the goal, right? But my question for you is, what really is your goal? What is the actual goal that you're looking for to achieve? And really digging down into that deep, deep, deep ultimate goal, okay? And this lesson that one of my mentors taught me was that is that when you say, okay, well, what's my goal? And then you say whatever the goal is. My goal would be, I don't know, get a big house, right? Get this big dream house or whatever. And then you ask yourself, well, what's that going to get you? What's that going to do for you? And then you say, well, that's going to, make it so I can have my family there and, and have all my family and they can all come and visit me and I'll have this awesome property and blah, blah, blah. What's that going to do for you? Well, that's going to make me feel like, I've provided for my family. I've given them, everything I can give them, and they have a safe place to come to, blah, blah, blah. And then you ask yourself again, well, what's that going to do for you? And you keep digging down and down and down and down. You keep asking yourself, what's that going to do for you? What's that going to do for you? What's that going to do for you? Until you can't come up with anything else. And when I did that exercise, and I think that a lot of you, if you really dig down deep enough, is that you'll realize, and that what I realized was that ultimately I just want to be happy. And when you come to that and you say, okay, if my ultimate goal, deep, 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 deep down, the main goal of, say, the purpose of my life is that I want to be happy, is then I can come back to the now and say, is what I'm doing right here in this very moment the thing that is going to make me the most happiest? And if it's not, then you're not on the right path. And it doesn't matter what you think your goal is, whether your goal is to make $1 million, whether it's to get a new car, whether it's to build a business, whether it's to whatever. All those things are part of the way. And if you think that the way to your happiness is to build a business, you might be wrong. That's another expectation, right? So I think the key really is to dig deep, deep, deep and find out what your ultimate goal is, and then determine, okay, on a moment-to-moment basis, am I being successful meeting that, creating that goal in my life right here and right now? Because ultimately, all we have is this moment right here and right now. And if what we ultimately want is to be happy, then it's not as hard as we're making it out to be. I don't know. That's my thought on it. Well, I wanted to just real quick. Karen joined us and she's commenting on the page. I just wanted to say welcome, Karen. And I think there's another comment. Let me just see. Yep. Okay. It's just Catherine saying good morning. Good morning. Okay. Anyway, I'll pass it over to whoever wants to jump in.
I think you brought out a great point. What is your ultimate goal? Why do you want to build that business? Why do you want to have that big home, or whatever it is? Once you've had a few of those things, and you'll see this being said by pretty much everybody that like makes it or has money or whatever. They'll say, it really wasn't about what I thought it was about. That once you get those things, you'll find that, you think when you have more money that you'll have less challenges or less problems, whatever you want to call them. But actually you just have more and of a bigger import because there's more money resting on it and stuff. So it's a growing process. And if every day you're unhappy because you haven't met this goal yet, or you're not as good as this, or you're not walking across the stage, or you can't just pick up and travel here or whatever. If every day you're, like you said, Jason, putting notice on the things, the places where your expectations for yourself are not being met, instead of focusing on all the things. It's amazing as humans how we can have this beautiful day, and one little thing can go wrong and we'll focus on that somehow. There's 5 million things that went right today, but this one thing went wrong, and so we're going to focus on that. I don't know why we do that. I really, really try not to do that, but I still do it sometimes. Thankfully, I catch myself now and pull myself back into line. But you can do, one of the things Samantha and I were talking about before the hangout, you can do a whole lot by not doing very much. That sounds paradoxical, but it's you know, you can have this step-by-step plan, list, my to-do list today, you know, and you've got it all planned out. You got every minute planned out. Those are all expectations, by the way. You've got that all planned out, you know, and you can do all this busy work and still not reach the goal. You know, there's a saying that all of us have heard, regardless of our beliefs, and that is let go and let God. And that's pretty much what this verse is saying. Let go and let God, at least saying in parts of it to me, because they will, like Donna said, you know, events are going to unfold. We like to think we have so much control over them. We really don't have very much control over most things. Things sort of unfold. And the place that we have control is our choice of how we adapt to those changes and how we interpret what's going on. You know, we have the choice of whether we're going to focus on that one little thing that's bad or, you know, all these beautiful things. We have the choice whether we're going to, you know, when we do get disappointed, we have the choice to just like totally throw off the whole rest of our day, maybe week, maybe month, you know, maybe year. Yeah, it amazes me how when you start to talk to people about their unhappiness, it amazes me at what they're unhappy about. Sometimes it's something that happened like 60 years ago, and they're, you know, still, we all like carry these wounds from childhood, but you can, if you're, some people kind of work on that stuff and other people don't. And so if you've done some work around that, you know, it's just really amazing to me the things that people allow to steal their happiness. Not to say that we should be happy all the time, 24/7, you know, every minute. I mean, yeah, that would be great, but it's kind of not reality. You know, we're human. We're here in this world where we don't have control over, you know, many things. And so, but we can decide how long we're going to let something steal our happiness. Because we can just focus on being the victim of how whatever it is happened or didn't happen. Or we can look at, you know, why does that sting so much? What were my expectations? What was my thought process? You know, you can go back to any point in time, and I think I mentioned this in the pre-mastermind discussion. There's a lady, excuse me, Byron Katie is her name. She's been around forever. It's actually, her work is something that I learned long, long ago, and I kind of forgot about it, and it's so powerful. So definitely check out her, she calls it The Work. And basically what she does is she takes you back to any given moment where you felt pain or disappointment or sorrow, sadness, whatever. And she kind of has you analyze what were your thoughts in that moment. And you'll find if you ask, she has like 4 questions you go through. All of her, well, not all of her stuff is free, but everything you need to do the work is free on her website. I think it's thework.com or something like that. Once you can analyze your thoughts about a situation and then change your thoughts, you know, because we have the ability to change our thoughts and our beliefs and our perspectives about things. So once you can change your thought about something, I mean, you can make that emotion, you can be really in deep, deep sorrow, sadness, and grief. And when you analyze your thoughts and then change them, you can actually like be laughing within minutes. I mean, it's really amazing how powerful our minds are. I want to hear you guys.
Well, I wanted to jump out here real quick, but I sort of just, when you guys said so much, I sort of just lost my thought. But I'll just jump out anyway to say something. Let's see. I like that drill you're talking about earlier, Samantha, about drilling down to what I heard it as is that you're drilling down to your why, finding your why as to, you know, you want this goal, you want this outcome. Well, why? And you guys were talking about earlier, having a why that really, affects you and gets you going. And so, drilling that down to find your why and find out what your purpose is great. I think, happiness, a lot of us find happiness in different ways in life, and we have different. We don't necessarily have to have the expensive car or the all the best stuff. Be happy with just enough to get by and know that our friends are safe and our family is taken care of, that sort of thing. And happiness. We can actually choose to be happy, just like you're saying there, Catherine. Through the journey, we just can make that mental decision to choose to be happy. Um, Finding a way to do that now sometimes can be difficult. For me, just thinking about focusing on things I'm grateful for can make turn flip that switch and get me thinking about how wonderful things are, even if I'm not where I want to be, or things aren't exactly the way I want them to be, that I can be grateful for the things that I do have and appreciate them. And in that appreciating and in that gratefulness, you won't find room for sorrow. You won't find room for the stuff that holds you back. Um, you know, um, we can't. We've got to have. We're going to have. It's kind of think human nature to have expectations about things. It's being able to go through life understanding that that we have control over these emotions that we're having, and that we can still navigate this stuff. Um, and Oh, like what you just said about your friend doing the work. Um, having expectations, or having thinking back and drilling down past events where we had expectations and we had emotional attachment to them. And finding trying to find some closure with that can be the most difficult thing that a person can do. At least that's what I found. Is, I mean, it's a lot of times you don't even want to think about that stuff, let alone figure out, well, hey, what went wrong, or what could have been done better, or so that you can find a way to move past it. Find out if maybe I wasn't having realistic expectations about that, or maybe I wasn't doing, one of the 15 things that can be done to give me the success that I want in that situation. And if you do that, if you take that journey, if you push through those tears and that pain of what it was to drill it down, you can figure out what it was that held you back that time, or kept things from unfolding the way you wanted them. And you can give yourself, and doing that, I think we can give ourselves the tools and the skills and that we need to make those events happen the way we'd like them to happen, or closer to the way we'd like them to happen next time, so that we don't feel so defeated in our past events that weren't successful, that we can move forward and not expect those same effects. We can actually have better expectations, because we're better prepared, and we're not going to be thrown by the idea that, hey, this is not going quite the way I want it to go, and instead know um, how to use the momentum of the situation to work it into what we need to be for ourselves, and to know that what the why is behind it. Um, you know, I think that why can be more of the goal rather than an event happening. But if you have an overall sense of what it is I'm trying to do, what it is that you're trying to do, then you can continue just to direct the actions and the flow of everything towards that, and knowing that it's part of the Tao, part of the way of the universe to bring what it is you want into fruition. When you put in effort, the action, the energy, and you just sort of allow it to happen as at the same time you're pushing it along and giving it nudges here and there. So I mean, there's so many levels to this, but I'm really enjoying the discussion. You guys have a lot of great ideas, and I think there's a lot in the second verse. So I see why we broke it up this way. What you got, Donna? What are you doing over there?
My puppy, or my pet, I call him my pet, my baby. He's drilling for my attention this morning. He's in one of those moods, just like anybody else, I suppose. So I was getting I was listening to you, Jason, and I was getting so many breakthroughs and thinking in my thought process as you were talking there, and then I don't know, I just think there's a post I have on my wall there that I put there about 2 years ago with the hand with the seeds in it, and my mind just keeps kind of, one time I was going to take the post down. I said, probably think people don't understand what the hand is with the seeds in it, but in our reality, that's a lot like we are, like the everything around us, the puppy, we are, we're just seeds. We're just out here just like, because that's, now you guys hear me refer to my dad a lot and all that because I'm a farmer's daughter, so I came off the farms, and the crops, so I can kind of relate to life in that aspect of, we're just out, we're actually seed planters, we just go out here and we put seeds all over the place. A lot of times I question my father, well, why do we do it this way, Daddy? Well, don't question the ground, just go ahead and put it in there and let it grow. It'll take care of its own. We just got to do our part by keeping it all cleaned up and pay attention to the things that are around the field. I don't know. That's all in my thought process. Just pay attention to your field. Don't worry about somebody else's field over here. You be happy with your field. And because your expectations of your field growing, at some point you're going to have a harvest. You're going to eat, and you'll be happy. I don't know. There's something about tilling the grounds in my spirit right now, but it's all good. It's all good. Thank you, Jason.
That's great, Donna. I love that. I love that. We as being human beings on this planet, we're the only ones that can take care of nature and the animals, and we have a unique responsibility, I think, and to be able to grow things and to nurture things that way. That I have a real appreciation for that. Without that, none of us would be here where we are today. So many of us, I think, in today's age, don't even think about that sort of stuff. Kids growing up they get all their food from the grocery store, or so they don't know where it comes from. And growing up myself, I always knew I wasn't that far removed from the farming culture, but I didn't live on a farm, but I still knew, and I knew enough that I didn't want to really, I didn't want to be the one out there having to work those hard hours and stuff, but I really do appreciate that. More as he was talking about, Wayne Dyer was talking about something in here which Catherine was kind of mentioned on. It's towards the end here. It's about the effort, and that he says here, effort is one piece of the whole. Another piece is non-effort. Fuse these dichotomies, and the result is effortless action without attachment to outcome. And so that's, I think, Catherine, you were mentioning something about doing more by doing less. Is that you?
Yep.
Okay, well, he goes on to say that this is precisely how you dance with someone. You make an attempt to assume a position, listen to music, and let go all at the same time, allowing yourself to easily move with your partner. Combine the so-called opposites into the oneness of being without judgment or fear. Labeling action as a fine effort implies a belief that trying hard is better than not trying. but trying itself only exists because of beliefs about not trying. Attempting to pick up a piece of trash is really just not picking up the trash. Once you've picked it up, then trying and not trying are irrelevant. So, I guess what he's saying there is just in doing, in focusing on the actions and the doing of the accomplishment, and not focusing on all these smaller parts of the puzzle, but just getting it done is kind of the way to go. That we confuse things or make things more difficult, we make them more difficult by all these little distractions and feelings and expectations or whatever that are not necessary and don't do us any good, but just sort of they fill up time and we end up spinning our wheels, and by the end of the day we're like, wow, I'm exhausted, but I really don't feel like I accomplished anything. You guys feel like that every once in a while? I know I do.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly the point I was making earlier, is that you can have this plan, you can have every minute of your day planned out on your calendar if you want to. But first of all, the thing with plans is, our plan and God's plan is like two different things. And which is really one of the great things about not having expectations, because I can tell you that as wonderful as our imagination is, like God's is way better, right? And so we may have our dreams that we think are like these huge big dreams, and really that's not nothing compared to what God has planned for us. So, but the thing with plans is, like, the minute you take the first action step on your plan, it changes everything in the plan. Like, suddenly the whole plan can be worthless because of whatever happened after the very first action. So now you've spent 7 days, writing out your plan for tomorrow, and the first action step you take, like you turn on the water to make the coffee and the pipes are broken or something. That's a silly thing, but I'm just giving an example. It doesn't matter like how detailed the plan is. That's just expectations. And when we need to have that carrot at the end of the stick, I guess, in the old cartoons, to get the horse to walk, but we just can't be attached to those outcomes. We can't, because that's how people wind up stuck, because they can't resolve what they wanted to happen with what actually happened. Samantha, I know you've got some stuff to say on this because we were talking about this before the hangout. So come on out.
I don't even have a train of thought at the moment, to be honest with you. I've just been listening to everything that everybody's been saying, and of course, I guess one thing that kind of came up for me when Jason was talking, and I don't remember specifically what you said, Jason, but we were kind of talking about how so we talked about the goal that we have ultimately, and of course, I was talking about being happy and that sort of thing, and of course we dialed down to exactly what it is that makes us happy, and that may be specific actions or things that we do, like my whole desires for bringing this whole Saturday Morning Mastermind and the Mindset Mastery Collective together has all been about me connecting people with each other and helping each other grow, right? Well, that's something that really makes me happy. However, if I had been focused on doing this and then having 1,000 viewers every single Saturday, and always having 100 comments on the blog page every week, or if I had been focused on those things, which that'd be great, right? Those things would be awesome. But if those were the things that I was focused on versus the thing that actually makes me happy, which is talking about personal development and discussing it with people who have like minds and like thoughts on it, then my whole level of happiness would be completely different, right? And so I guess Kareem just jumped on with us. Welcome, Kareem.
Hey, how are you?
We're almost to the top of the hour, almost done. I think that we might have gotten our times mixed up, but if you had thoughts that you wanted to share with us on this verse before we wrap up for today, we'd love to hear them.
Funny enough, I want to comment on what you were saying, on how you were saying people coming to what you're doing or 1,000 comments or anything like that. I have a mastermind I'm running too, and sometimes I get a full panel and sometimes 2 people or 3 people show up. I don't let that discourage me, and I keep moving forward because I know I'm going to make a change in the world. Because if I stop, I'm just going to be stuck at 2 people.
Yeah, good point. We can't, and that does stop a lot of people. You know, one of the things about working from home and entrepreneurship is people quit, and the reason that they quit almost always is because they haven't accomplished in the amount of time that they thought they would what they thought they would. You know, it's all about expectations. They don't think about, you know, how much they've grown or like how they've learned to get more comfortable in their own skin or any kind of, you know, the million skills that they learned during that time. They just focus on, oh, but I didn't make that 6-figure income in 2 weeks, you know. And obviously, you know, hopefully they don't quit after 2 weeks, but that's almost always why people quit. Otherwise, why would they quit, you know? If you can just reel in those expectations a little bit and not be so attached to the outcome, you'll have a much less turbulent life, I guess, is what I want to say. I want to hear from it. We got about 6 minutes left, so whoever has something to say, please come on out.
Real quick, I'd like to say in with this here. I like that the ending of that, what we were reading there a few minutes ago. And I can kind of, I've never met the gentleman that just came on, that Kareem, I think they called his name. That's good. He's kind of like the paradox of ending of this chapter, because the reason I say that is a lot of times I was seeing in there where they talk about putting like a label. You know, when folks start putting labels on you and start trying to identify you with whatever you're doing out here online and whatever your goal or whatever everybody has a goal in mind of what they want to do. But you see, I seriously believe the time is coming that most people, you just start merging together. I think I shared that with you guys not long ago. I had the same situation happen to me a little while back. Kareem, he kind of jogged that memory. You see, maybe I don't know his situation, whatever, but maybe this is not by accident that he's moved here, because same thing happened to me. I started out with 1 or 2, 1 or 3, and I was like, and then all of a sudden I come across the group here, and look, I'm like, hey, I can just come right along over here and play in her field, not go over there and take her field. You follow what I'm saying? You know, because some people is like, if they can't be up here on the pedestal, then they don't want the field. No, you come along and you plant your seed along with the field, and everybody grows together. Everybody just be. And that's the last of that verse. Just be.
That's right. Just be, Donna. That's great. I love that analogy of that. You know, we can all plant our seeds and grow together. That's terrific. I wanted to welcome Kareem. It looks like he just dropped out though. But come back next week and you know, and follow along. This happiness, you know, finding our happiness, living within our happiness, regardless of what happens. You know, just being and allowing things to be. You know, it's that really is a blissful way of doing things. I know some Hey, he's back. I want to welcome you, Kareem.
Thank you.
You know, some people might think that, you know, having such a blissful way of just being in the world and not having expectations, not doing, you know, not wanting things to be a certain way is just not the way they can actually live, because there a lot of people, you know, might be managers at work, or um, you know, have to, you know, they might be depending on certain things to happen during the day so that other things can happen. So I think we, you know, there is that dichotomy of doing and not doing, and you know, knowing what to let go and what to hold on to. You know, you can only determine that by having your direction, by having a target. You know, if you fall short of the target, you know, we know that that's part of the process, and maybe another thing we have to work on is you know, doing things in a timely fashion. You know, we may have all different goals in different levels of our life. You know, it may not always be this. You know, we're focusing on making, you know, $3,000 a week or whatever it might be, you know, to be our ultimate goal. There's these other personal development goals that we're trying to reach as well. And, you know, understanding that hey, all that can be kind of overwhelming, but we don't have to, you know, we don't have to let it be overwhelming. There's certain things that need to be done and certain things that can be taken care of later, and we need to kind of go with the flow. Like Donna said, like the book says, you know, to, you know, learn to just be within the moment, within the whole scheme of things. Because, you know, the other thing is that the universe is, you know, or our God, you know, we see of everything that doesn't go the way that we're expecting it to go as some other, you know, the will of something else, the will of the universe, the will of God. Well, you know, this gives you another way of looking at it. You know, the Tao, the way, you know, and I really do appreciate you know, seeing things from these different perspectives, especially those that are on the panel here. So thanks a lot. It's been a great discussion today, and hope to see everybody back on next week.
Last words, Kareem or Samantha, come on out.
I just wanted to say
okay.
I was really impressed with what I saw, and I'm definitely gonna make time. I got my times a little mixed up. I'm definitely gonna make time to get on here and contribute.
That's awesome. We'll love to have you, Kareem. It's always wonderful to get another person's perspective on these discussions, because, of course, you know, that's how we all grow and learn, and you know, realize how we can apply the different principles in our lives in a different way. It's just by learning from other people. So that's awesome. We would love to have you again. And you know, I did want to go ahead and read the next verse for the next section, so we'll start studying verse 3 for next week, and then when I get done with that, Catherine, if you want to wrap up. Okay. All right. So third verse says, putting a value on status will create contentiousness. If you overvalue possessions, people will begin to steal. By not displaying what is desirable, you will cause the people's hearts to remain undisturbed. The sage governs by emptying minds and hearts, by weakening ambitions and strengthening bones. Practice not doing. When action is pure and selfless, everything settles into its own perfect place. I like that last part, the practice not doing, because when action is pure and selfless, everything settles into its own perfect place. That kind of talks a little bit about what we discussed today. I hope the train isn't like, I have a train going by. I hope it's not like super loud. It's not so loud for me, but who knows what the microphone does with background noise. Okay, I'm done.
That's a good one. That's going to be a good verse to talk about. I love that last part too, and it's so true, but I won't start now because we're at the top of the hour. So I just want to thank everyone here on the panel for coming, and also everyone out in the community. And you can always find us at SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. Please add your comments. We typically have what we call a pre-mastermind discussion, where we exchange thoughts about the verse before we come on the air to talk about it, and then of course we can continue that conversation afterwards as well. So we'd love to hear what you think about these verses and this book and what Wayne has had to say about it. And if you need to order the book, there's links there on the website where you can get the book. And also join us over in our Google Plus community, Mindset Mastery Collective. And anything else? I'm not used to closing us out. Did I forget anything? I don't know. But
like the video, subscribe to our YouTube
videos. Yes, that's right.
Give me some juice.
Yeah, juice, exactly. Give us some juice. So everybody have a blessed week, and I look forward to our discussion, and I'll see you next Saturday. Bye.
Bye-bye.